Hello, and thank you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm your host, Cortney Bloomer. Today's show is brought to you by Paradise Salon, Spa, and Wellness, now offering microblading. For all your aesthetic needs, check out Paradise Salon, Spa, and Wellness right here in Carson City. Our guest on the show today is Lisa Lee, the Director of Advocates to End Domestic Violence. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi.
We are so happy to have you back in the studio.
Yay!
And you guys have some big news.
Yes, for the last, it's been a 20-year project basically, and then seriously for the last 15 years, and then we bought property about 2 years ago so that we could move our thrift store, which is on Hot Springs Road, over to Highway 50, and then have the ability to build out from there and add some other phases.
All right. The building has been going up for several months now. For anyone who commutes regularly on Highway 50 like I do, I get to drive past it every day. And it is now finished. It's got a beautiful sign on the front. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. What services are going to be happening there?
Well, it was interesting because when we were originally looking to just buy a piece of land that could just do the thrift store, and this piece of land came up, so we're going to be able to move a lot of our operations over there in the future, and that's going to, involve shelter and offices and things. But the first piece was the thrift store, and we'd been at our location for 20 years on Hot Springs Road, and we're really hard to find. I mean, you have to be a dedicated thrifter to find us. And so our goal was to become a little more visible and find a location where you could see us easier. The revenue that we survive on is roughly 50% of it comes from the thrift store. And then we're able to, our original concept for the thrift store, when years ago we used to do garage sales because people would give us so many items and we couldn't store them, or people didn't need them at that time, and we just didn't have the warehouse space. So we'd do an annual big garage sale on, the parking lot of a bank or something like that. And eventually we thought we had stored them in a building and we needed that building for transitional housing. So we started looking around and we found our current location on Hot Springs Road. And it was going to be something small, and then it got a little bigger and a little bigger. And it enables us to give the clients that come through our shelter anything that they need, clothing, wise, shoes, and when they move out, furniture, so they can get started. And then because, we have such an abundance of things, we're able to also do it to other people in the community. Ron Wood is one of our favorite partners. Their clients, when they need something, they call over and we give them a voucher and they can go over and pick up clothing or whatever they need. And the same thing with Join and several others.
All right. And you keep talking about clients, which are, of course, the main point of advocates. But for people who might not be familiar with advocates and what you guys do, talk a little bit about the services that you guys offer in the community that are supported not only by the thrift store but by some other really fun things that you guys do throughout the year.
We do several large events. We do our Taste of Downtown, and then we also do grants that support our 24-hour crisis hotline and our 51-bed shelter, our transitional housing, and our support services such as, groups and counseling and parenting and budgeting and all the life skills things that you need whenever you're suddenly starting over. But we also have our sexual assault response advocates, and they're there at the hospital whenever a victim walks in the door, and they work with her or him all the way through the exam and then on through court and through victim's aid and getting them the services they need to relocate or the counseling that they need. So we have a very large dedicated group of volunteers that have put in a lot of training to be able to answer the crisis lines and to be able to really provide services to survivors and to be helpful to them. And that's a big component of what the thrift store ends up supporting in the end.
People might not realize the magnitude of the scope of domestic violence here in Carson City. How many clients does Advocates serve?
We'll do over 7,000 nights of shelter, if last year's any indicator. And a large part of that is, most people, whenever I meet with them when they're coming in, they think that they need just a few nights, maybe a couple weeks. And our program can go up to 5 months. Before I came here, I was talking to one of our clients who her 5 months has come, but the housing isn't open yet for what she needs. I mean, she's got her applications in. In Carson City, we have a very tight rental market. So we were working out a plan to extend her stay a little bit so that she could get into an apartment and with her and her 2 children. So it's not always just Carson City clients. We have clients from all the surrounding counties that come here too, because if they have a job here, or if their parent lives here, or if their kids are in school here, it's easier to be in Carson than to be going to another county and then having to come back every day. So we do try and be accommodating to, all the surrounding counties.
It's a fantastic service that is benefiting people who really, in many cases, don't know where else to go. When you are thinking about providing these services, what are some strategies that you guys use to let people know that you're available for them?
Well, as we were talking earlier, social media is big anymore, and so we really do focus on, we do the traditional, when the police come to your home, it's a state law that they have to provide you a card that tells you what your rights are as a victim, and it tells you a 24-hour crisis line that you can call in your community. And that's a simple one. We have a victims advocate at the sheriff's office who follows up and calls after you've had a police officer to your home to make sure that if there's anything extra you need, if there's any resources the community has, that she lets you know. And then we have victims advocates at the courthouse, and they'll help walk you through those services. But it's like anything else, until you need it, you don't really know about it. And, you might have vaguely heard or something, but until suddenly you have an illness, or you need a mortgage or any of those things, suddenly you start paying attention to the interest rates. And, when you're thinking about a car, suddenly you start paying attention to the different models that you never paid attention to. And domestic violence is similar, until it touches you or your family, you're probably not paying that close of attention to it. And luckily you don't have to. But when it does touch you, then you're wanting to know what services are in your town. We do a lot with Facebook, and I have staff that are very, very good at posting. Believe me, I can't post anything, but I'm always like, did you take a picture of that? Did you post it? The gal that just dropped off those quilts, you should post that. And so you do get people following and knowing what's going on. And our thrift store is the same way. We do a really big push with them to know that what we have going on Facebook and Instagram and all the other little components, so that they know when our sales are coming and that they can be supportive. Right now we're setting, this week we shut down the store on Wednesday. Last week was the last week we were open, and we do a VIP opening on Thursday, and then we're going to open on Saturday the 11th. And so we'll be open with all our Christmas. We save Christmas all year long. And so I think we have 150 trees at last count that we have to put together. Oh gosh. You do not want to go home and put together your tree after that. You don't want to go home and decorate. You just sit there and say, I'll go down to the thrift store and just sit for a while if I want that ho-ho moment. So we do try and make it like a real big outlet for holiday decor. And being across the street from Goodwill, we're trying to make it so that the thrifters that like to get on their little route, we're just across the street and they're just across from us, and then you can hop over to fish and you can, get all the OARC and everybody else in a row. When we were looking, we were really limited because the zoning, we could only go basically Highway 50. There was a couple little spots that we could maybe pick, but you really want to be, it's the synergy of things. You really want, restaurants don't want to be totally on their own. They want to be near other things. Right. And so that kind of worked out. But you like it? You watched it come up every day?
It's a beautiful new location.
It's kind of a cool-looking store.
And a great next step for you guys. Mm-hmm. Classy Seconds has been voted the best thrift store
many years.
Number of times. Mm-hmm. And this new location is going to probably just enhance the shopping experience for the people who really enjoy visiting and seeing what sales are up and following the store on Facebook.
Well, years ago when we sat down, I sat down with my staff at the time, and we chalkboarded, all the names that we could have. My name did not get the vote. I wanted it to be Thrifty Threads and Things. Nobody wanted that name. And they all voted for Classy Seconds. So we've been blessed and cursed with that name, because you have to keep it classy if it's in your name. So you have to make sure we have a separate boutique now. It's going to be right when you walk in, and so that you can really have more of the brand names, the label names, and things like that. And then you have to keep it really fun with different decor, and kind of have, this time we're going to have some windows so we can really do some displays out front, versus before it was kind of back in the store a bit.
Well, it is going to be super fun. The store opens this weekend, Saturday, November 11th, Classy Seconds benefits the Advocates to End Domestic Violence program. Lisa Lee, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks to all of you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City, brought to you by Paradise Salon, Spa, and Wellness. Check them out right here in Carson City and on Facebook. I'm your host, Cortney Bloomer. If your business would like to sponsor a future edition of It's Your City, contact Darla at the address shown on your screen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.